Today we're going to take a look at 5 fountain pens from my collection that I would probably not buy again. This is totally a personal opinion video. This is not knocking the brands. Some people probably love these pens, and they're actually, you know, quite good pens in some cases. But for whatever reason, I've never really warmed to them. They've not really inspired that spark that we get sometimes when we find a pen that we love. And so there's 5 pens, and it wasn't actually that hard to pick this out. I thought I'll do this video. I've seen these videos on YouTube, and I enjoy watching them. And I thought, what would be my 5 pens if I was starting over, if I had to start over a collection, or I was just starting? Um, so, well, I'd probably this is in no particular order, except for the last one. The last one is the number one pen I wouldn't buy again. So this pen here. Now, this is a Sailor Fude bent nib pen. I'm an artist. I enjoy drawing, and I got this pen, and I thought I'd use it a lot. But, I realized my style of art requires me to have a fine or a medium nib. And quite often I prefer drawing with pencils. But the bent nib, it's a perfectly good pen. But I just haven't adapted to it for my own style of artwork. And, it's not really a pen you write with. It's more for, say, urban sketching. And I'm a studio artist. I don't work outside the studio. I just sit in my little room, and I come up with my weird ideas. I just pull them out of my head. And this is designed almost to be used like if you're outdoors and you're doing urban sketching and drawing landscapes. It's perfectly adapted for that. It's a beautifully made pen for 20 some, I think it was $20. It's a very good deal. But for me, I wouldn't buy it again. Just considering how I work. All right, I'm much better off just taking a TWSBI and drawing with a TWSBI. And actually, I use a TWSBI that has platinum carbon black in it for that purpose. But yeah, the bent nib just didn't do anything for me. So, but otherwise, it's a good pen. Next pen in my list. This little Sailor Pro Gear Slim here. I picked the wrong nib. It has an extra fine nib, and it's hard. It's a lovely pen. It's beautifully made, gold nib. But I don't like really hard, fine, extra fine nibs, and this is really fine. I refer to it as drawing as hard as a nail, or it's like drawing with a needle. I tried a Sailor that a friend of mine had, and she had a medium fine nib, and it was a completely different experience. So if I ever get another Sailor, and maybe I will, I might look at getting a medium nib. As you get into the hobby, you discover things about yourself, what you like, what you want to try, and it's always changing. But I'm not an extra fine person, I don't think. A fine is good, but I tend to like mediums. Probably, I do have some fine Western fines that are very nice that I quite like. But if I'm getting a Japanese pen from now on, I'm going to stick to, say, like a soft medium, or some of the different sizes like that. But I won't, or even a fine. But I won't go extra fine again. And that goes for Pilot and Platinum and Sailor. So yeah, main reason that this is one pen I wouldn't buy again is the nib. Otherwise, I love the finish. Maybe someday I'll try to replace the nib. I don't know. Who knows? I'll see. But it's a beautiful pen, beautifully made. I love the white color, which is what attracted me to it. But yeah, that nib, it's so very, very fine. And it's actually a beautiful nib to look at. But if this was, say, a medium fine, or something along that, or even a soft medium, I would probably prefer it. Um, and that's a little disappointing because I was really hoping to love this pen. I still use this pen. Um, I found the ink that I use in it all the time that's the best is Diamine Oxford Blue. It's dark enough that with that fine nib that it looks really nice. And it's a pleasant writing experience. So there. So that's that. Next pen I wouldn't buy. Personally. Retro 51. What can I say? It's a lovely looking pen. I didn't even spend that much money on it. I got it on sale at a really good price. It's a lovely writer. It's a beautiful looking pen. It's a lovely writer, and I like the nib on it. It has nice flow. It's not so heavy in the hand. It has a nice section. I hate the cap. I like pens that I can post. I know some people say don't post your pens, and I understand that. But I like to post my pens, mainly because when I put a cap down, I set it over aside. I seem to always misplace them. Even it's amazing sometimes. Where did I put the cap? Because I'm often working at my art desk, and this writing desk, I'm using it for my videos, is very tidy, but my art desk is quite messy. And so I put a cap down somewhere on it, and it gets lost under sketchbooks or paper or amongst all the other things. But I quite like it. I quite like the pen itself. I hate the cap. I wish it posted. And it does sort of go on there, but it's very loose. And if you push too hard, I'm always worried that I'm going to damage the finish. And I probably would. But yeah, and I do find that I need to post it because for me, I find it almost too short in some ways, or there's not enough weight at the back for my tastes. Other people lots of people love the Retro 51. And it is a good looking pen. I just wish I could post the cap. Yeah, one pen I definitely wouldn't buy again. Conklin. This came with this is the Duraflex, and it came with a Duraflex nib. There's no flex to the nib. It's very hard. It also feels chalky when you're writing with it. Feed doesn't really seem to give you good flow. It's a beautiful looking pen. I had a couple problems with beyond the nib. Right here on the band of the cap band, there's a plastic part like right here that actually fell off. This part here had fallen off at one time. And I was quite surprised by that because I thought this was all one piece, but no, this came off, and I crazy glued it back in, and it seems to be holding, but I was quite surprised that that would fall off. That was a bit of quality control that I was not pleased with. I ordered a nib to replace the Duraflex nib on it, or whatever they call it. Yeah, Duraflex. And I got another Conklin nib. It's easy enough to replace these. But I'm actually probably going to try to replace this nib. Once again, it just doesn't feel as smooth as I was hoping it would feel. And I probably guess that has to do with the black finish on it. there's enough tipping there, but it's also black. And I wonder if the whatever the coating is or whatever chemical treatment they use to get the black finish, if that's what I'm feeling when I write with the pen, it's not necessarily scratchy. It's almost chalky feeling, and I don't like it. Um, and I might eventually next time, maybe sometime I might again try to get another nib. Um, I would probably go with just a steel nib, just the plain steel, just to see how that works. It's a Yowo nib, and I'm kind of surprised that you know I don't like it as much as this as I would hope. Um, but there's still hope for this pen. Let's put it that way, you know. But I'm going to have to eventually just try another nib and see how that feels. Because you know what? Except for those two things, like the original nib and even this nib, and that little bit of the cap falling off, it is actually a pen that I'm quite sad that I don't like. Because it's actually quite beautiful. Really, I really like the look of this pen. It has a vintage shape to it, and I love the transparent areas of the acrylic that they've used, and I like the the yellow ochre and the black uh, combinations, the little sort of whatever you call that tortoise shell effect, maybe. And it's a lovely pen to look at. It feels really nice in the hand. But that nib, that original nib, I know that they've updated those nibs since this one. This is this nib here. This pen was released. I know that they've supposedly improved them, but it is that thing, trying to find a modern flex nib. I haven't really come across any that I like. I haven't tried that many. But yeah, so I'm going to try to replace that nib eventually with just a plain steel. Hopefully it writes smoothly. I might go for like a something like a broad nib or something a little wider, just to get some more smoothness or just to make it a little bit more interesting to write with. But yeah, I wouldn't buy the original version of this again. And I probably wouldn't buy another Conklin again, actually. And the one pen that I love getting fountain pens. I love trying fountain pens. I'm curious about fountain pens. So sometimes I'll try something out, knowing that I might not like it. And this was a gift, and we got it on sale. But I have to be honest, this here is the Ferris Wheel Press Carousel. And I got to be honest, it's not I would not buy this pen again. It has a very odd cap. It's when you pick it up, you almost think it's a twist cap, but actually it's a pull cap. But on this one that I have, you have to really pull like that, like give it a good yank, right? And on this painting, this one here that I have, if you leave it for a few days, it dries out. It doesn't. I have a $7 Preppy. You could leave it for a year, and it'll still work when you go to use it. For whatever reason, probably because the cap, because the way it twists like that, it doesn't feel very secure. Like it doesn't feel like a really tight seal. So air is getting in there somehow and drying out the nib. And also, it doesn't feel high quality. In some ways, a Kaweco Sport is a better pen for a better price. Platinum Preppy is a better pen for a better price. I found when I was trying to fill it, that the cartridge is quite finicky. Or actually trying to fill it the first time was kind of finicky. I got ink all over myself. It seems to leak a bit too. I washed it out and there was ink in the cap, things like that. But yeah, it's what it is. I wouldn't buy it again. I quite like Ferris Wheel pressed inks, but the carousel for me just doesn't really do it. I think it's because the main problem, there's something going on with that cap. Anyway, so there you have it, a little video about some pens I wouldn't buy again for whatever reason. I hope you liked the video. If you're new around here, I invite you to subscribe to the channel, and if you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. Anyway, I'll talk to you soon. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.